Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going deep on Arthur Schopenhauer,
Oh, wow.
a 19th century German philosopher.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, when I first saw this, I thought,
Yeah.
1800s philosophy, how much could this possibly relate to me?
Right.
But you sent over some super interesting stuff about Schopenhauer
Good.
and his ideas on suffering and resilience.
Hmm.
And you know what? They're surprisingly helpful, especially if you're trying to figure out how to deal with
Oh,
all
yeah.
the craziness of modern life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about Schopenhauer is that he just doesn't sugarcoat things. He just jumps right in
Yeah.
with this idea that suffering is like baked into being human.
His view of life is definitely not all sunshine and rainbows.
No.
But it seems like there's a really valuable lesson in there.
Yeah, definitely. So Schopenhauer's core idea is that life is driven by this thing he calls the will,
Okay.
which is this relentless
Okay.
and often irrational force
Uh-huh.
that pushes us to like want things and strive for goals.
Right.
And yet we're never quite satisfied.
Yeah.
He saw this force at play, not just in us as humans, but in every living thing.
So is he saying that we're all just stuck on this
Yeah.
hamster wheel of wanting?
Yes. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Schopenhauer wasn't saying that we
Yeah.
should just give up on all our desires.
Right.
He was actually advocating for something much more nuanced.
Okay.
He believed that recognizing this force, this will that's driving us,
Uh-huh.
is actually like the first step towards actually finding a sense of peace and
Right.
fulfillment.
Okay. So how do we do that? How do we recognize the will
Yeah.
and not let it control us?
So for Schopenhauer, it was
Yeah.
all about detachment
Okay.
and mindfulness.
Yeah.
He believed that by cultivating a sense of inner peace
Mm-hmm.
and focusing on the present moment,
Yeah.
rather than getting all swept away by external desires,
Yeah.
that we can find true contentment.
So instead of always chasing the next big thing,
Yeah.
Right.
we should be focusing on appreciating what we have and finding joy in the simple things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this idea of detachment might seem a little abstract,
Right.
but, we see it play out in the real world all the time.
Yeah.
Think about someone like Warren Buffett,
Uh-huh.
one of the most successful investors of all time.
Right.
He's known for his incredible patience
Yeah.
and his ability to detach
Yeah.
from the short-term ups and downs of the market.
Right. He's not panicking every time the market dips.
Yeah.
He's playing the long game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that ability to detach, to not get caught up in the emotional roller coaster,
Right.
has clearly served him well.
So is Schopenhauer suggesting we should all just become like Warren Buffett?
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
He wasn't advocating for
Okay.
becoming emotionless robots.
Wow.
It's more about finding a balance.
Yeah.
Recognizing that challenges are inevitable,
Yeah.
but not letting them control our lives.
Right.
He believed that by embracing reality
Yeah.
rather than resisting it,
Right.
we can actually find a greater sense of peace.
And speaking of embracing reality,
Mm.
Schopenhauer, he didn't shy away from the tough stuff.
No, not at all.
He was upfront about the fact that life can be hard.
Yeah, he believed that suffering is
Yeah.
an inherent part of the human experience,
Right.
something we can't avoid entirely.
Yeah.
But he wasn't being pessimistic.
Okay.
He was actually being realistic.
So it's about accepting that life isn't always going to be easy.
Right,
But that doesn't mean we can't find happiness and meaning.
exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, Schopenhauer believed that by acknowledging the inevitability of suffering,
Yeah.
we could actually develop a greater sense of compassion and empathy for others.
This is starting to make sense.
Yeah,
If we can accept that everyone experiences pain and hardship,
right.
we can become more understanding and supportive of each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you see this playing out in today's world, too. There's a growing movement of people
Yeah.
who are recognizing the interconnectedness of our experiences
Absolutely.
and are working to make a positive impact on the world.
Like those entrepreneurs who are focusing on social impact and sustainability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not just focused on profits. They're
Mhm.
focused on creating a better world
Yeah.
for everyone.
Right.
And this aligns perfectly with
Yeah.
Schopenhauer's idea that recognizing the universality of suffering
Right.
can lead to greater compassion
Uh-huh.
and a desire to make a positive difference.
It's a powerful concept,
Yeah.
for sure. I know we've only just scratched the surface here,
Yeah.
but this has already given me a lot to think about.
Mm.
It's making me wonder, if I can learn to accept the tough parts of life
Yeah.
as just part of the deal,
Mm-hmm.
could I actually find more peace and happiness?
Right.
What about you? Have you had moments in your own life where embracing a challenge
Oh, yeah.
instead of resisting it actually led to something positive.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, tons of times.
Yeah.
When I've, like, really struggled with something.
Yeah.
And by, like, kind of leaning into that discomfort, I've learned and grown in ways that I never would have expected.
It's like that saying, the
Yeah.
wound is the place where the light enters you.
It is.
That's deep. And it ties in perfectly with what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Schopenhauer wasn't saying we should just like wallow in our suffering,
Right.
but rather that it's by confronting it head on
Yeah.
that we can find true strength and resilience.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the will,
Yeah.
suffering, compassion, but I'm curious,
Yeah.
how does all of this help us navigate the future?
That's a good question.
The world is changing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It can be pretty overwhelming to think about what's coming next.
Right. That's where Schopenhauer's insights
Yeah.
become even more relevant.
Okay.
He wasn't just a philosopher of suffering.
Uh-huh.
He was also a philosopher of change.
So how did he view change?
Yeah.
Was he optimistic about the future?
Well, he wasn't exactly like a futurist with
What?
all the answers,
Okay.
but he did recognize that
Right.
the only constant in life is change.
Right.
And he believed that instead of fearing the unknown, we should embrace it.
That's easier said than done.
I know, right?
How do we actually embrace uncertainty when it can feel so scary?
It starts with shifting our mindset
Okay.
instead of trying to control everything,
Right.
which is impossible.
Yeah.
We can learn to accept that life is going to throw us curveballs.
Yeah.
It's about becoming more adaptable, more resilient,
Mm-hmm.
more open to new possibilities.
You're making me think about those moments in my own life when
Yeah.
things haven't gone according to plan,
Mm-hmm.
but they've actually led to something even better.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes the detours
Right.
are where we find the most interesting scenery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Schopenhauer would argue that those unexpected detours, those moments when we're forced to step outside of our comfort zones,
Right.
are often the most valuable experiences we have.
They can be the most terrifying too.
They can be,
Right.
but that's where courage comes in.
Okay.
Schopenhauer believed that true courage isn't about being fearless.
Right.
It's about facing our fears and doing what needs to be done anyway.
So it's about acknowledging the
Yeah.
fear,
Yeah,
but not letting it paralyze us.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that we can cultivate.
Oh.
The more we practice
Uh-huh.
embracing uncertainty and stepping outside of our comfort zones,
Right.
the more resilient we become.
It's like building a muscle.
Yeah,
The more we work it, the stronger it gets.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just like building physical strength takes time and effort,
Right.
building mental and emotional resilience does too,
Mm-hmm.
but the rewards are well worth it.
So how do we start building this resilience muscle? Do you have any tips or practices
Yeah,
that you found helpful in your own life?
absolutely. One of the most powerful practices I found is mindfulness.
Oh.
It's about training our minds to be present, to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment,
Mhm.
and to cultivate a sense of acceptance for whatever arises.
I've heard a lot about mindfulness.
Yeah.
But I'll admit, I haven't really tried it myself.
Right.
It seems like one more thing to add to my already overflowing to-do list.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But the beauty of mindfulness is that it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to like focus on your breath
Right.
or to pay attention to the sensations in your body.
Mhm.
It's about creating space between
Yeah.
your thoughts and reactions so you can choose how you want to respond.
Okay, so it's about being more intentional,
Yeah,
less reactive.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that intentionality can make a huge difference in how we navigate
Right.
the ups and downs of life.
I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how mindfulness could be a powerful tool for building resilience and embracing uncertainty.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's something that Schopenhauer himself advocated for. Even though he didn't use the term mindfulness explicitly,
Okay.
he saw the power of cultivating inner peace and awareness
Yeah.
as essential for navigating the inevitable challenges of life.
This is all making me think about how much our society values winning.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly being told to strive for success.
Right.
To achieve more, to be the best.
Yeah.
But Schopenhauer seems to be suggesting a different path.
Right.
One that's less about external achievements
Mm-hmm.
and more about inner peace and acceptance.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah?
And this is one of the most radical and insightful
Yeah.
aspects of Schopenhauer's philosophy.
Okay.
He challenges us to question our definition of success.
Right.
He asks, what if true success isn't about winning at all costs,
Mm-hmm.
but about finding a sense of meaning and purpose that goes beyond
Okay.
external achievements?
I'm really interested to hear more about this. What did Schopenhauer have to say about finding meaning and purpose
Yeah.
in a world that often feels meaningless and chaotic?
Well, for Schopenhauer,
Yeah.
one of the most powerful pathways to meaning was
Oh.
through aesthetic contemplation.
Okay.
He believed that art and nature could offer us glimpses
Right.
of truth and beauty that transcended
Right.
the everyday struggles of life.
So it's about finding moments of transcendence through art,
Yeah.
music, nature, that
That's
sort of thing.
exactly. He believed that when we immerse ourselves in a work of art, or when we connect with the beauty of nature,
Mm-hmm.
we momentarily step outside
Right.
of our own limited perspective
Yeah.
and connect with something larger than ourselves.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
There have been times when I've been completely absorbed in a piece of music
Uh-huh.
or a stunning view,
Yeah.
and it's like all my worries and anxieties just fade away.
And those moments of transcendence,
Yeah.
however fleeting they may be, can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
They remind us that there's more to life than just the day-to-day grind.
Right.
They connect us to a sense of awe and wonder that can fuel our spirits
Yeah.
and give us a renewed sense of purpose.
It's like a reminder that even in the midst of chaos and suffering,
Yeah,
there's still beauty and meaning to be found.
you've got it.
Yeah.
And that's a really important takeaway
Okay.
from Schopenhauer's philosophy. He wasn't just about acknowledging the difficult parts of life.
Right.
He was also about finding the light,
Mm-hmm.
the beauty, the moments of grace
Yeah.
that make it all worthwhile.
This is making me think about how much emphasis we place on productivity
Right?
and achievement in our culture.
Yeah.
It's like we're constantly being bombarded with messages that tell us we need to be doing more, achieving more, striving for more.
You know,
Yeah.
he was very critical of what he saw as the excesses of his time. Materialism ambition, the relentless pursuit of worldly pleasures.
Right.
And these critiques feel even more relevant today,
Totally.
don't they?
It's like we're all caught up in this hamster wheel of striving,
Yeah,
but we've forgotten why we're running in the first place.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where Schopenhauer's philosophy can be so helpful.
Right.
He reminds us to slow down, to pay attention, to appreciate the beauty around us,
Yeah.
and to connect with something larger than ourselves.
Right.
He encourages us to ask
Yeah.
what truly matters.
Right.
What gives our lives meaning and purpose?
It's a powerful message for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that a lot of people are craving in today's world.
Yeah.
We're searching for something more
Right.
than just success and achievement.
Yeah.
We're looking for a sense of purpose, a sense of connection, a sense of peace.
And I think Schopenhauer
Yeah.
offers us a roadmap for finding those things.
Okay.
He reminds us that true happiness and fulfillment
Yeah.
don't come from external achievements,
Right.
but from cultivating inner peace, connecting with something larger than ourselves,
Right.
and living in alignment with our values.
It's a philosophy for our times, for sure.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's still so much to unpack.
Right?
I'm particularly interested in hearing more about Schopenhauer's ideas,
Yeah.
about the will, and how we can free ourselves from
Yeah.
its relentless grip.
That's a great topic to delve into.
Yeah.
But before we do,
Okay.
I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
How can you apply Schopenhauer's ideas about finding beauty and meaning
Yeah.
to your own life?
Mm-hmm.
What steps can you take, even small ones,
Right.
to cultivate a sense of awe and wonder
Yeah.
in your everyday experiences?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It is so easy to get caught up in the routine and forget
Right.
to look for those moments of beauty and inspiration.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really going to be thinking about that today. Okay, so let's dive back into this idea of the will
Yeah.
that we touched on earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that Schopenhauer believed it was this driving force
Yes.
behind all of life,
Yeah.
but also a major source of our suffering.
Right.
Can you unpack that a little more?
Of course. So Schopenhauer believed that the will is this primal, relentless force
Okay.
that pushes us to desire,
Sure.
to strive, to
Mhm.
constantly seek something more.
Right.
Think of it as the underlying energy that drives all living things
Right.
to survive and reproduce.
So it's like this instinctual drive that's hardwired into us.
Exactly. But
Okay.
here's where it gets tricky.
Okay.
Schopenhauer argued that while the will is essential for survival,
Uh-huh.
it can also lead to a lot of suffering
Okay.
because the will is never satisfied.
Right.
It's always pushing us to want more,
Yeah.
achieve more, acquire more, even when we already have enough.
So we're on this endless treadmill of wanting
Yeah.
Never truly reaching a point of contentment.
You've got it.
Yeah.
And that's why Schopenhauer believed that understanding the nature of the will is so important.
Okay.
Because once we recognize this force that's driving us, we can start to detach from it.
Right.
We can start to make conscious choices
Right.
about what we truly value and what we're willing to let go of.
Yeah, so it's about becoming aware of our desires, but not being controlled by them.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about finding a sense of balance.
Right.
We don't have to completely renounce all desires, but we can learn to choose those that are truly meaningful and let go of those that are just keeping us on that treadmill.
This is making me think about all the messages we're constantly bombarded with in our consumer culture.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Buy this.
Yeah.
Achieve that.
Be more.
Be more. Do more.
Do more. Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think Schopenhauer would say that a lot of those messages are playing directly into the will's insatiable appetite.
Okay.
They're feeding this illusion
Right.
that happiness comes from acquiring more things or achieving a certain level of status.
Yeah.
But true contentment, he argued, comes from within.
Okay, so how do we tap into that inner contentment? How do we break free from this cycle of wanting that's causing us so much suffering?
So Schopenhauer offered several paths. One we've already discussed is mindfulness.
Right.
By cultivating a sense of present moment awareness, we can observe our desires without getting swept away by them.
Yeah.
Another path is through aesthetic contemplation, immersing ourselves in art and nature, which can provide like a temporary escape from the will's relentless grip.
Right. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Finding those moments of transcendence that remind us there's more to life than just the constant striving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But perhaps the most challenging, yet potentially most rewarding path Schopenhauer offered is through what he called the denial of the will.
Denial of the will.
Yeah.
That sounds intense.
It is a bit of a...
What does that even mean?
It's not about denying all our desires or becoming completely passive, but rather about consciously choosing to detach from the will's relentless pursuit of satisfaction. It's about recognizing the inherent limitations of worldly pursuits and shifting our focus to something deeper, something more lasting.
So it's like a conscious decision to step off the treadmill.
You could say that.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that true happiness doesn't come from satisfying the will's endless desires, but from finding a sense of peace and fulfillment that transcends the material world.
This all sounds very spiritual almost.
It does have spiritual undertones for sure.
Yeah.
Schopenhauer was deeply influenced by Eastern philosophies, particularly Buddhism, which emphasizes the idea of detachment from desire as a path to enlightenment.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So Schopenhauer was essentially bringing these ancient Eastern wisdom traditions to a Western audience.
He was.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons his philosophy continues to resonate with people today.
Okay.
His ideas offer a timeless wisdom that speaks to the human condition, regardless of our cultural background or religious beliefs.
It's a message that seems particularly relevant in today's world.
Yeah, totally.
Where we're constantly bombarded with messages that encourage us to want more. Do more, be more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Schopenhauer offers us a counter-narrative.
Yeah.
A reminder that true happiness and fulfillment come not from external achievements, but from cultivating inner peace.
Yeah.
Connecting with something larger than ourselves and living in alignment with our values.
It's a powerful message for sure.
It is, and it's given me a lot to think about.
Yeah, me too.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to go back to that quote you shared earlier about finding victory and coping with loss. And rising above the chaos.
Yeah.
With strength and clarity. What final words of wisdom would you offer to our listeners?
Oh, that's a great question.
We're trying to do just that.
I would say remember that you are not alone.
Yeah.
Everyone experiences suffering, setbacks, and loss. It's part of being human.
Yeah.
But it's in those moments of darkness when we're forced to confront our own vulnerability that we often discover our greatest strength and resilience. So be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Practice self-compassion. And remember that even in the midst of chaos, there's always the possibility for growth, for healing,
Right.
for finding meaning and purpose.
Those are beautiful words of encouragement.
Thank you.
And I think they perfectly encapsulate the essence of Schopenhauer's philosophy.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the darkness, but also finding the light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the totality of the human experience.
Right.
The good and the bad, the joy and the sorrow, and finding a way to navigate it all with grace and wisdom.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's been my pleasure.
On this deep dive into the world of Arthur Schopenhauer.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired to approach life.
Me too.
With a little more awareness, a little more compassion, and a lot more appreciation.
Definitely.
For those moments of beauty and connection that make it all worthwhile.
Absolutely.
To our listeners, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Yeah.
And perhaps even inspired you to explore Schopenhauer's ideas further. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.